Hello and welcome to yet another YouTube video here on this channel. In today's video, we are diving into the applications I'm actually planning to use this year. And every once in a while, around 6 to 8 months or so, I do one of these videos because that's when I tend to change things up. I've had an issue of changing my applications, my productivity applications too much. I've talked a lot about that issue, so I won't go too deep into that here. But what I will say is that I have promised myself to stick with these applications unless there is one rule, unless one of them shuts down or stops working completely. Apart from that, I will keep these applications. And the first one is actually a new calendar application I recently came across. It is called Life Stack, and it is a little bit of a different one. So this uses my Apple Watch to track my sleep and then gives me a time of day where I should do focus work, where I have less energy. And honestly, this isn't perfect, so I wouldn't recommend it right now. Because it isn't good enough. It's that simple. The application right now is simply not good enough, so I can't recommend this to anyone. However, I am a big believer of the idea of an application like this. I really like the idea of something like this. So I have decided that I will use this. There are some cool features, but like a lot of things aren't as good as you would see in many other applications. Like, for example, the drag and dropping feels a little weird. The task management might feel a little weird, but it is good enough right now for me to use it. And I don't spend that much time in my calendar, so this is a sort of a daily planner or a calendar application, and it is good enough for my use case. But if you are really into planning, this isn't something I would recommend yet. But I believe in um, this idea of like health and productivity coming in together. That is something I'm a big believer of. So the way I use LifeStack is actually that I have it integrated with Todoist. So if I jump back into my LifeStack just to show you how that works, if I jump in here, you can see that uh, these are gathered from Todoist. So I actually use Todoist to manage all of my tasks. Todoist is an application I've used previously, then went away from, but honestly, it is just a really good to-do list application. There isn't much more to say about this. It also, on the Pro plan, has a good calendar functionality as well, so you wouldn't need something like LifeStack. But I mainly use Todoist as my to-do list application. I have a lifetime subscription of an application called Structured, which I will end up using in a year or so. But as of right now, my main issue with Structured is that there is no good way of actually managing my to-dos. So that is something that annoys me a lot. But I am planning to get back to Structured in a year or so because I really like the application. But I have just ended up using LifeStack as of right now because it has an integration with Todoist, which Structured does not have, and it only has like an inbox you can put tasks into, and there are some like I have some issues with that because I have a lot of accumulated tasks during a week, which I then want to plan out. And if they are all inside of one list, I tend to get an issue with actually managing that. And it feels really overwhelming, which in my case is one of the worst things I can experience because if I feel really overwhelmed, I will just give up and do nothing. So, having it like this instead, where I have different lists, I still haven't cleared out my inbox after my Christmas break, so that is something I'm going to do after this video. But in general, I think this is a great experience. But the main reason for why I'm using it is actually just because I need some place to have my to-dos. Then uh, I will be able to plan them inside of LifeStack. So that is mainly the reason why I used Todoist. If LifeStack had good like to do management, and the same goes for structured, I would probably use them. After a lot of back and forward, I have decided to go for a Scrintal as my note-taking application. I talked about this being very expensive on the monthly plan, and I still think it is. Honestly, for most people, the pricing isn't worth it, especially the monthly plan. And there are some like major issues with this application. The main one is that there is no mobile application, and there isn't a really easy way to capture things on mobile. And the worst part of that is that there isn't any plan of any mobile application anytime soon. They are working on improving the web version, so you can use the web version on mobile, and it should feel a lot better than it does right now. But um, honestly, there are a few issues. I've decided to use it anyways because I really like the idea and it really fits the way my life is right now. And this is one of the hardest ones for me to pick because the note-taking application is probably the one I change up the most and the one that is like the hardest to change. When you jump from one app to another, you often lose a lot of notes. Like changing calendars isn't that big of an issue, but changing note-taking apps is. So this year, going into this year, I have promised myself to stick with these applications. I've done a bunch of research. I spent a few months back in 2024, which is now only 3 days ago. I spent a bunch of time actually trying out applications, trying out different workflows to just find something that I could stick with for at least a year, hopefully much longer than that. But I've said at least a year. That is the promise I've made to myself. And um, hopefully I will be able to, but who knows? I am going to try at least, but I landed on this because it has the blend between like note taking, backlinking, those PKM things that I really like, tagging because I'm really into PKM, but I also do a lot of work in design. You wouldn't believe that when you see my videos and you see my thumbnails, but I do. I work in design, I will work in social media management and having some sort of project management, but also having a way where like images can be stored quite well. So if we jump into, I don't think it's design. Uh, inspo, I think I'm not sure which one of these uh, is the right one, but I at least have one like this is inspiring images, I think. So having a place where I can have images, where I can have design resources and things like that. As you can see, it loads a little bit slowly, but that is because I haven't actually been on Scrintal on this computer before now. So it's been at least 2 weeks of notes that hasn't been updated on this computer, and I haven't also downloaded the desktop application. That is something I will do. I have the Mac application. I mainly use this on my Mac. But that is the reason why I've landed on this is the blend between like traditional PKM tools and things you have in like Obsidian, Logseq, things like that, and also things that you would expect from an application like Milanote, for example, more of a whiteboarding experience like you have in Milanote, in Miro, even in Affine has something like this. But I really like the experience of this. I also like the fact that the docs can be used for long form writing. So that is why I have landed on this application. Again, it is one that I struggle to like recommend to anyone else because in order for me to use this, I need to have an additional application just to capture things on mobile, which for most people will be an issue, but I've decided that it is okay. So that actually brings me to the application that I use to capture things on mobile. So just like here, these are YouTube video ideas. I used this as my like bullet journal application just to journal things and be able to find them later and revisit my thoughts. And for my yearly review, I actually use this a lot to see how my year was and things like that. So that is mainly what I actually use tools for. But I also have now started using it for things like this, where I can have like a few things. This is a video idea, another video idea. And when I'm on the go, I'm on my mobile. I can't always bring up Scrintal in the web version. So I am actually using tools for that specific purpose. I'm using it as a capture tool before things are moved elsewhere. Tools has been a part of my life ever since I found the application. I think I have way too much inside of here. I think I have half of my life inside of here. I have had different use cases for it. This is an application I recommend a lot, but I've used it as a to-do list. I've used it as a bullet journal. I've used it as a fully fledged note taking app and for project management. And I really like the versatility of this application. And it is one I will probably keep having in my toolbox for a long time. And I will just change how I use it based on what I need. As of right now, it is a little bit of a bullet journal and a lot of a capturing method because the best ideas never come when I'm sitting in front of a computer. As I said, it is an issue because I end up using having to use another application just to use Scrintal as my note-taking app, but I've decided that it is worth it. I can't recommend that to anyone else, but I'm very much into note-taking and into productivity applications, and I review them and I spend way too much time inside of them anyway, so having one extra isn't a huge issue. Next up, we have Voicenotes AI, another application I actually have a lifetime plan on. I purchased this a little under a year ago. I think it was in May last year. This isn't my main account, and the reason why you can't see my main account is simply because I mainly use this as a journal. I use this to talk out my thoughts, my ideas, and just quickly capture things with voice. You have the ability to ask AI, you can add notes, you can add threads inside of here. So it has a bunch of different options for like general note taking, but I'm mainly using it as another capture tool and not necessarily as a fully fledged note-taking application. Last up, I have a little bit of a different one. I wasn't sure whether or not I should include this, but this is my podcast player. I use Podorama, and the reason for me including this is because I spend a lot of time listening to podcasts, especially when I have like what I call brain dead tasks. So sometimes I have to move information from somewhere into an Excel sheet, which can take the whole day. And I like to listen to podcasts when I do that, especially at my day job. I love podcasts in general. So I have been looking for a good podcast player, and I've landed on this one right here. I am actually going to, right now, I have a 5 year plan. I am going to purchase the lifetime plan. I'm not using many of these AI things, but it is just a really good podcast player, and it has one of the most important things for me. It is stats, and it has stats so I can see how much I've listened to things. Also, I used Endel, like a premium like focused music application, for a while. I have been using it for almost 7 months now, but it never really caught on. I actually prefer a podcast application. Focused music application didn't work, so I wanted to include this as well because since last time I included Endel, but I am not using that anymore. I still have the Pro plan, but I will cancel it. Um, I will cancel it soon, and it will be cancelled in June, I think, or May. I'm not quite sure, but that covers it for this video right here. As usual, if you have any questions, leave them down below. I will try to get to them as soon as I can. I have changed up my setup a little bit, so my video style might change a little, and also it might take me a couple of days or weeks until I figure out how this microphone is supposed to work. So if the audio is bad, I'm sorry for that. Please be patient with me. It will become much, much better quite soon, or at least that's what I am trying to. Also, these are the applications. I hope I can stick with them as usual. Thank you so, so much for watching.